Welcome everybody, Brandon Stubbs and Gordie Tamayo with TheTitleFight.com. Recapping last night's action where we had fan-friendly Miguel Cotto making his return after a long hiatus here, and what fans were hoping and expecting for Cotto to come back in dominant fashion and kind of resurrect the Cotto of old. And he was coming up against ESPN regular Delvin Rodriguez in a fight that went pretty quick. I mean, we didn't get to see too much other than, Cotto just come out real quick out of the gate. One-sided fight, 3 rounds into it. Ref calls a halt to it. Brandon, you got a chance to be there ringside, catch all the action right there in first-person view there. What were your thoughts on the bout overall?
Well, we saw Cotto come out extremely aggressive. The first couple seconds there of the first round, you kind of tell he's kind of tentative, maybe trying to find his range, and then it's like the switch just flipped. He just decided to go all offense. And that's something that, Freddie Roach has said even in the post-fight press conference was that's something that they had worked on. That's something he wanted to bring out of Cotto again, has been more of an offensive fighter. We saw him being more offensive. We saw him going back to the body again, which is something that had been missing from his arsenal of weaponry for years now, it seems like. He brought that back into the fold, was landing body shots, much more aggressive, and just really was just there to take the fight. It was one of those things to where he was not going to be denied whether it went one round or went, the full length. He was going to put the pressure on the whole time.
Yeah. No, and he definitely did. He came out like he was really trying to make a statement, and, he did. Fans that were bloodthirsty for the night and didn't really get fed their just portion here were really looking for Cotto to come in and really make a statement here, and granted he did. Not to take anything away from either fighter as well, because it was a great performance by Cotto. Roach seems to have been a good match for him and is doing some good work with them. Delvin, came up short, not really showing that he was at this particular level with Cotto here, and some fans were quick to dismiss Cotto's victory because of such, stating that, hey, this is Delvin Rodriguez that he was facing. But in reality, is this a good kind of measure of where Cotto is at now going forward and leading into some bigger fights?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things you don't want to throw Cotto right back into the fire after coming off with 2 losses. And granted, the 2 guys he lost against were not chump change. He lost against Floyd Mayweather, the best fighter in the world, and Austin Trout, who's amongst the top 5 in the 154-pound division. So it's not like, he lost against tomato cans. He lost against legit guys. So, putting him in there with Rodriguez makes sense. Kind of a confidence builder, getting kind of back up to speed. And Rodriguez is a solid fighter, but it does leave a lot to the imagination of what does Cotto fully have left in him when he does step up against tougher competition, but also gives him a little bit more of an edge when he goes into that next fight, because he'll be now going to a second camp with Freddie Roach, and Roach already know what they expect out of Cotto after them going through this first camp here.
Right, and right off the gate, of course, a lot of people are already questioning, who's next for Cotto. A couple names that are getting thrown around. Canelo Alvarez, coming off of destruction of himself over against Floyd Mayweather. And then, of course, Sergio Martinez, who, throughout his course has been ridden with some really serious injuries, coming back after somewhat of a lackluster performance there against Martin Murray, and he's looking for a big fight as well. Both of those are kind of dismissed and just kind of put to the wayside right now as Cotto's kind of taking some time to rest and whatnot. Like you said earlier, maybe a little bit too soon to kind of throw him into the mix with somebody else. If we didn't see him, get thrown right into the mix with a Canelo or a Sergio Martinez, what kind of makes sense at this point in your view?
I mean, it's a weird situation because his deal with Top Rank and HBO is kind of all one-off deals. They all are just kind of a series of one-fight contracts. So, despite what a lot of people are saying, he is technically going to be a free agent here within a couple of days or weeks after, everything is now over with the Rodriguez fight. From all indications from what he was saying and how Bob Arum was acting and other executives there at Top Rank last night, he's going to stand the fold there at Top Rank. He kind of made it clear that, the only way the Canelo fight's going to happen is Top Rank and Golden Boy talk, and they get that situated. So that told me right there, well, he's going to at least stay at the Top Rank umbrella. So with that being said, I'm kind of just scratching your head a little bit, wondering what could be next. The only thing that I could say that legitimately could make some sense is, possibly Bradley, if he wins, him fighting Cotto, if he was to move up to 154, or rematch with Manny, and Manny actually fight at 154 and not force Cotto to fight at 147. Otherwise than that, there's not much really under the Top Rank umbrella that would make legit sense. But from all indications I had, even today of the weigh-in, HBO was pushing strong and hard to make a catchweight fight between him and Sergio Martinez. That was their goal heading into this fight. Cotto's camp had said it. From some of the people I talked to out there, like I said, the day of the weigh-in, that's something that HBO is pushing on them, but they are not really 100% sure. Freddie Roach is down with it. He thinks that he has a fighter now who can beat Sergio Martinez after Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. came up short last year, so it's going to be interesting, but if it all comes down to contracts and money, I'm almost going to guarantee it's going to be Sergio Martinez next sometime in the spring of 2014.
People were playing around with the concept, of course, and giving some comparisons to back when, Oscar de la Hoya faced Tito Trinidad. And at the time, there was a little bit of rift between Don King and Top Rank, and they were able to kind of set matters aside, at least for that fight, during that time frame. Not sure if it's the same world that we live in here in the boxing world with Top Rank and Golden Boy, but who knows? I don't necessarily mind the matchup with Cotto and Martinez, but he would be going up again in weight there. What would be your hypothetical prediction of something like that taking place? Is Cotto kind of biting off more than he can chew moving up, or is Sergio kind of on the decline now? Where kind of levels the playing field?
It's kind of the latter. I think with Sergio has been just kind of showing he's been breaking down as these last few years have went on. So you kind of got to wonder how much he has left in his tank. And from what I'm understanding, it would maybe possibly a catchweight fight. Freddie Roach made it extremely clear during the post-fight press conference he hates catchweight fights. He wouldn't want it to be a catchweight. He would just want his guy to move up to 160. So, it would be real interesting to see. Even if it's contracted at 160, I bet if Cotto comes in right there at 160, he will probably weigh less. So I don't think it would really matter to him one way or the other if it's a catchweight or at 160. But I would like Cotto's chances, quite honestly, because, again, with Sergio breaking down, with Cotto seeming to have a new energy and vigor about him, it should be an interesting fight and would be definitely friendly and be very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, no, I really did enjoy seeing the way he came out last night. Very aggressive, kind of seen some glimpses that, hey, this guy's has some new motivation again. So good things in the future for Miguel Cotto, hopefully. Moving on, we got a bout coming up here pretty soon. Matchups here, an interesting matchup as a whole between Timothy Bradley and Juan Manuel Marquez. They're coming up again coming up Saturday. Got to catch some of the 24/7 from last night, and I love Bradley's confidence. I think a lot of people dismiss him. He's kind of got a new type of way of carrying himself after the Provodnikov fight. Looking into this fight, both of them are starting to build up a little bit of a smack talk to each other, so it's kind of fun watching these two carry it through. They both got some decent sized egos that they carry about themselves. What's your take, Brandon, going into this fight right now? I know early on you had your pick already set. Have you kind of stayed along those lines, or are you kind of thinking a different way at this point?
With this, it's going to be relatively simple. If Bradley boxes, he can outbox Marquez and can win. If he goes in and he decides, I want to make it a slugfest, I want to make it aggressive, I want to make it dirty, I want to show the fans that I can fight with this guy, he's one counter punch away from being laid out. So it's really going to go it's going to go one of those two planes. If he just sits there and box, he can do similar to what Floyd Mayweather did against Marquez. Not trying to say Bradley's in the same class as Floyd, but he can do the very similar things to what Floyd did against Marquez and should win. I think he could just flat out outbox him if he needed to. If Marquez goes out and is aggressive and not the counter-punching style, that could really throw things off. But I really just look for Bradley to try to box him. And, again, if it turns into a slugfest, it's going to be an early night and Marquez coming out on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always got to wonder with Bradley, too, after that last fight, he really had something to prove. And, didn't listen to his corner against Provodnikov. And granted, the fans, were crazed about the overall performance there. But it really did a number on Bradley after that fight. And just leading outside of that as well. It kind of seems he's got this new confidence about him as well. Don't know if he's gonna, make the same, I don't want to say mistake, but it almost would be a mistake against a guy like Marquez who capitalizes on people's mistakes that way. He's a really smart fighter. So I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm still kind of up in the air myself about it, but definitely looking forward to this fight. And, all right, well, I think that's all we got for this time here, folks. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, Brandon Stubbs, Gordie Tamayo with TheTitleFight.com signing off. Have a good one.